everybody, and welcome to the Big Little Farm. I'm your host, Dave Phillips, the owner and proprietor of the Big Little Farm. I have this business where I use organic and biological ingredients in a compost tea mix that I put onto pastures and hay fields around the customers up here in north of Fort Worth, Texas. One of my customers, they're gracious enough to let me come out here to feature them on this. But this is called the Lobos Ranch, and you'll get to meet the owners. And you will see, and they'll explain what it is that they're attempting to do with their operation, and how I fit into that operation through the application of my compost tea. You can see the benefits. Now granted, this is August 2nd that we're shooting this video today, so we're just starting to get into a bit of drought conditions and just typical hot Texas summer weather. But you'll see how things are working out pretty well with them. So let's go ahead and meet the owners of the Lobos Ranch.
Moving back to Texas to be closer to family was kind of what started this whole thing, but I always wanted a farm growing up. That was my dream career, believe it or not. Career changes happen, and when we had the chance to move back home to be closer with family, I basically put my foot down and said, I'm starting the farm that I always wanted. And so that's how we got here today.
When we started looking into this, and we were looking at the traditional ways of farming, we were looking at how much it costs for fertilizer, and how much it costs for feed, and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at her and I said, we can't afford to do that. So we started looking at alternative ways of running the farm. You know, and looking at regenerative agriculture, what type of animals do you need to have on your land and all that kind of stuff. How much land, how many animals can you have with the land that you have?
And so I started diving into YouTube and just watching videos. That's when I ran into all the regenerative agriculture stuff, and I started looking at, okay, what animals do well on small acreages, because we knew we weren't going to be able to afford a whole heck of a lot of acres around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Land is too expensive here. So I spent a year researching the different species of animals, what works best, which breeds of each species works best on small acreage, and learned about rotational grazing, giving the pasture rest in between grazes, and how everything needs to follow in tandem, behind your ruminant animals, your cows, followed by sheep or goats, followed by pigs, followed by chickens and stuff. And how that builds your soil, and it builds nutrients in turn that the animals eat in the grass, which then in turn gets consumed by, the end user, people.
Now the original plan was to start with chickens, grow the chicken process down, and let that grow, let that become profitable. Use the profits to go into the next animal. That went right out the door. And we just started buying animals.
Yeah.
So what happened? What caused you?
Opportunity.
Okay.
Animals came up, and we thought, well, we need that, so let's go ahead and get it.
Would you recommend that?
No. No.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, in hindsight, it was a big learning curve, because if you've never done this before, you're jumping from, okay, I'm learning about chickens, to now I'm learning about pigs, to now I'm learning about cows. And it can be overwhelming, but if you've got a very small amount, you're going to run into a small amount of problems up front, so long as you're getting good quality stock from good breeders. The answer to that is you do it until you run out of grass, and then you start feeding hay. We were only able to do 1.5 rotations in that pasture. This year we've already made 2. In the springtime here, spring and summer. If you can do it all year, great. In fact, that's our goal this year, is to try our absolute best to be able to do it year round. But it's going to be one of those things where we just respond to what the grass is doing. If it's not there, then we're going to be feeding hay, and we're basically going to be rolling out hay bales along that same rotational route, because we've discovered that unrolling hay bales is one of the best things you can do to build soil. So, there's different strategies to this whole thing, but yeah, it can absolutely be done in Texas. So we found out about Dave at biglittlefarm.com through our butcher. Our butcher received his information and he shared it with me because I had posted in a group saying, hey, is there somebody who does organic, fertilizer, fish emulsion, worm tea, et cetera, et cetera. Because I was looking for one. I had one that I had actually called and he was supposed to come out here and spray, and I said, hey, when are we setting this up? And he just basically kicked the can down the road, and then I never heard from him again. So I was looking for a new guy. My butcher recommended Dave, and Dave got in touch with me, right away, responded to me, came out, assessed our property and what our grass looked like, what our weed situation looked like, what our soil looked like, and said, okay, here's the prescription that I have planned out for you guys. And this is what you can expect at this stage, this stage, this stage. And, we'll just, go from there and see how everything works out. So how everything has worked so far, for one thing, it's honestly exceeded expectations. I didn't expect us to have this much grass this year. So this was we just did our 5th application a couple of weeks ago. We do an application every 6 to 8 weeks. The first 2 applications were late in the fall last year where we had no rain, and we had no rain all winter, so I expected nothing. We've got to have rain for grass to grow. But this spring we had an abundance of rain, and so with that, and with the spraying, all of a sudden we had an explosion of grass, and we had more grass than we knew what to do with, and basically we were able to double our head count on our cattle in just a couple of sprays. I mean, it was to that point where we needed more cows in order to eat the grass, whereas last year at this time I was selling cows because I didn't have enough grass to feed them. So we went from a lot of bare spots to all of a sudden they're all filled in, and this was without rotation from any of our other animals. We did rotational grazing one pass last year with the cows. That was it, because everything else burned up at that point. But there were no pigs out there. There were no chickens out there. Where we had chickens was just right here in front of the house because we weren't raising a whole lot at the time. This was the first year, that we've got 200 birds out there right now, and then we've got pigs in front of them. So, I mean, the impact we've had from them wasn't even there yet. This was just without that. So this was just Dave's spraying. All of a sudden we had an explosion of grass and we needed more mouths to feed. So that's where we kind of started.
So we're 2.5 years in the operation. Originally the idea was that, with how animals grow and all that, our idea was that we wouldn't see a profit or be able to pay for the operations of the farm for 5 years. So we were seeing that at 2 years. So we're getting to a point where we're able to grow a little bit. We're able to increase our pig sizes, or the number of pigs that we have, so we can grow how many piglets we're gonna have and sell. We're also doing the same thing, like she was saying. We've doubled our cow herd, or our Dexter herd, so that we can grow that a little bit more. But no, we're getting to a point where we're able to grow, and hopefully get some more customers in here so that we can keep making some money on this operation. So.
BigLittleFarm.com